What's going on YouTube? It's Nivius Art, bringing you a deck profile for one of my new favorite decks, Mythical Beasts. This variant is Mythical Beast Odd Eyes. I have been playtesting actually four different variants of Mythical Beast. This is the first variant I wanted to show you because I feel like this is the most explosive variant, the Odd Eyes version of it. Then I'll show you guys the maybe the spellbook, the pendulum, and the there's a Zephyr variant out there. I just haven't play tested with it, and I'll show you a more pure variant. So I've been play testing this deck for 2 months, I guess, prior to Extreme Forces. So I think I'm pretty knowledgeable about the deck. I don't really play extra hand traps besides the hand trap that's already provided by Mythical Beasts in here. So this is not so much a competitive deck as it is a deck for fun. Though it could get competitive depending on how you play it. You could take cards out and make it competitive actually. So I'm just warning people that are looking for a super competitive build. I have beaten some meta decks with this pretty non-competitive build though on YGO Pro Percy. Once again, this has been play tested in YGO Pro Percy, so this is not a real life situation that I've been put in. So if you really want to try your hand at it, build the deck yourself. It was fairly cheap. I don't know if it's cheap anymore because Pendulum Magicians have been buying this up to use the main combo in the deck. But I think I just want to go over the primary thing that you guys should know about the Mythical Beasts, which is they're all scale 4, and all of their effects are all of their first portions of their scale effects and their monster effects are the same. So all of them gain spell counters while on the field whenever a spell card is played. That's for all of them. The level 6 and up basically gain like two spell counters for every spell card played, and then the level 4 and lower gain 1 spell counter for every spell card played. But then all the Mythical Beast scale effects require them to be the only scale in the Pendulum Zone in order to activate their scale effects, which basically make them go off like normal spell cards, which increases the speed of spell counter decks immensely, in my opinion. So without further ado, let's move on. Let's go to the Mythical Beast engine first. Okay guys, getting into your monsters, you want the Mythical Beast Cerberus at 3, in my opinion. You want Mythical Beast Jackal King at 3, in my opinion. Some people play it at 2. I play it at 3 because I like the idea of making double Jackal King boards. Mythical Beast Garuda, which is your hand trap of the deck. We'll get into their individual effects momentarily. Mythical Beast Jackal, which is a really good card in my opinion. It just it starts up some really crazy plays, and it actually builds 2 pretty decent boards. Then there's Mythical Beast Basilisk, basically an upstart goblin in scale. That's the only thing you really use it for besides clearing your scales of your Mythical Beasts in order to use another Mythical Beast effect. And then 2 Medusas. People play this at 1. I disagree with that. I play it at 2 because of the fact that its monster effect's actually pretty useful, as well as its scale effect. So getting into the effects, so basically boss monster, Master Cerberus, 2800 body all the way around, attack and defense is 2800. Its scale effect specifically makes it like a Stratos, so basically you pop it while it's the only card in your scale. It acts like I said, Stratos, so any level 7 or lower Mythical Beast can be searched and added to your hand upon this being popped in your scale. Also, it has, as a monster, it has the effects that come in to play when you have 4 spell counters on your field. So you can remove 4 spell counters from your field, target a monster on your opponent's side of the field, banish it, and then that monster's original attack gets added to Cerberus's original attack, making it an even bigger beat stick. Also, it keeps that attack till the end of your opponent's turn. So that's actually really dope. Um, and then the other effect it has is it can't be destroyed by card effects while there are 4 spell counters on your field. So that's actually also really dope. That your opponent has to actually figure out a way besides card destruction in order to get rid of it. They literally either have to send it, the card has to read send this card, or the card has to banish it. And that's the only way you can actually get rid of Master Cerberus. Jackal King basically is a pendulum reborn for your mythical beast. So basically, while you have a face-up mythical beast in your extra deck, you can pop this card while it's the only card in your scale, and then special summon that face-up mythical beast to the field. Of course, in the extra monster zone because it's coming from your extra deck. This would be a whole lot more broken if it was still Master Rule 3, but it's not, so whatever. Its on-field effect is a soft once per turn where you remove 2 spell counters on your field to negate a monster effect. The reason why it's a soft once per turn is because the card doesn't read. You can only use the effect of Mythical Beast Jackal King once per turn. It reads that you can only use this card's effect once per turn. So if you have multiple Jackal Kings, you have multiple monster negates on board if you have enough spell counters to supplement Jackal King's effect. Garuda scale effect is basically Archfiend Eccentrics. So you target a spell trap on the field, you pop the spell trap and this card, and that gets rid of the spell trap. Also, it has its monster effect, which is essentially makes it a hand trap. So basically, when a monster's normal or special summon, you can remove 3 spell counters from your field, and then you can bounce back that monster or monsters. So basically, if somebody was to pendulum summon several monsters at once, activate this card, bounce them back. Soul charge multiple monsters, activate this card, bounce them back. It also puts an extra monster on board to be used for link plays. So that's actually pretty dope too. Mythical Beast Jackal is one of the, in my opinion, broken cards of this deck because its effect isn't once per turn. So basically, as a scale, you can use it to basically do a spell power grasp and add a spell counter to any card that can hold a spell counter. Also, as a monster though, which is where it comes in handy, this is its effect that's not once per turn. As a monster, you can remove 3 spell counters from the field and special summon any mythical beast monster from your deck to the field. This is the card that enables you to go into like double Jackal King, or it enables you to do maybe Jackal King and Master Cerberus. It's just a really, really good card in my opinion. When you're playing like the pure engine of Mythical Beasts, this should definitely be a card that you run 3 of. Bashless, like I said, it's in scale effect. You pop it, you send a spellcaster that's face up on your extra deck to your deck, and then you shuffle your deck, and then you draw 1 card. As a monster though, you remove 3 spell counters on your field, and then you can take a mythical beast that is either face up on your extra deck and add it to your hand, or that is in scale and add it to your hand. This allows you to use other mythical beast monsters that are on the field as a what is the word I'm looking for? As a their scale effects. So Mythical Beast Medusa has basically a monster reborn effect for any card that can hold a spell counter. So basically you play it, you pop it, you can summon a monster that can hold a spell counter from your graveyard to the field, and then this card's effect has that card gain 1 spell counter, which is actually really dope. But also it has the effect of being able to remove 2 spell counters during the battle phase from anywhere on your field, and then it cuts a monster's attack and defense in half, which essentially makes other cards able to beat over it. So that's all your Mythical Beast monsters. Just keep in mind that all of their scale effects are once per turn, so you can't use their scale effects more than once. But in most of the cards, monster effects are either soft once per turns or hard once per turns. So that does it for your mythical beast. Let's jump into your going into your Odd Eyes engine. Your Odd Eyes engine is relatively simple. It's a lot of one-ups. So one Odd Eyes Lancer Dragon, one Perform Power Odd Eyes Dissolver, double Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, double Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon, and then you have your one Odd Eyes Synchron. So going over your one-ups first, Lancer Dragon's pretty dope because Lancer Dragon has it that if a pendulum monster you control is destroyed by battle or card effect, you contribute one monster and special summon this card from your hand. But also it has this other effect that if this card attacks your opponent, cannot activate any spell or trap cards, which essentially protects you against cards like Mirror Force and Drowning Mirror Force and basically any Mirror Force card. Also, it has the effect that if any Odd Eyes monster would be destroyed, you basically tribute an Odd Eyes card from your hand or from scale, and basically that monster isn't destroyed. Your Odd Eyes Dissolver is basically used for all your fusions. So Odd Eyes Dissolver has the effect in scale to either use cards that are in scale or that you control or that's in your hand as or that you control as fusion materials to get to an into a dragon fusion. But while on the board, it can get into any fusion that can use this card as a material. So basically Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon or Odd Eyes Dragon or Odd Eyes Vortex Dragon, or you can use it for the Starving Venom play. Then you have your one of for Perform Power Odd Eyes Synchron. Perform Power Odd Eyes Synchron basically makes every card every Odd Eyes monster a level 1 tuner while in scale, but in on the field it can basically take a card that's in scale and then immediately synchro summon with that card using this card and that card as materials, which is actually also another dope combination. Odd Eyes Arc Pendulum Dragon only has a scale effect and not a regular monster effect. So its scale effect is that anytime an Odd Eyes monster's card is destroyed or Odd Eyes monster is destroyed, you can summon an Odd Eyes monster from your deck to the field, which is actually from your deck, hand, or graveyard to the field. So basically, that makes this, and this live as cards pretty much almost anywhere except for the extra deck, which is actually really dope because you can keep on recycling this, and every time this card gets popped, even if this card was destroyed earlier or sent to the graveyard a different way earlier, this card can come back off of just this card being popped. So this card is your main searcher for pendulum monsters with 1500 or less attack. So while in scale, this card can pop itself at the end of the turn to search basically any monster with 1500 or less attack, like I said. So it's Odd Eye Synchron is a part of that, Jackal is a part of that, Medusa is a part of that, Garuda is a part of that, and that basically means that you have access to some really nasty plays during your opponent's turn, or something pretty scandalous during your next turn. You can set up for your next turn to be really scandalous on top of gaining a little bit of leeway and headway. Also, while in scale, this card can actually reduce damage to 0 for any battle that involved a pendulum monster. So that's actually really dope too. Its monster effect, you won't be using that much because you won't be summoning this card like that. So I don't feel the need to actually go over that. But that's all your Odd Eyes cards. Now we can get into our spell cards. Going into your spell cards, triple Citadel, 1 Terraforming, triple Bestiary, double Power Grasp. Your consistency is actually Duelist Alliance, Spiral Flame Strike, and Paradox Pendulum, and then I run the double Power of the Guardians, and then one board wipe, which is Megaton Magical Cannon. So I feel like I need to go over the newer cards because nobody really uses this. So Mythical Bestiary or Mythical Bestiary is basically just mill 2 cards from the top of your deck, add 1 to 2 spell counters on a card that can hold spell counters. Also, if it's destroyed while in your possession by your opponent's card effect, it can summon a monster from your deck and add 1 to 2 spell counters on that monster. So this is actually a really dope effect because if your opponent decides they're gonna pop a back row and they pop this card because they think you're playing a solemn package, which most meta decks play, then they pop this card and they get a Jackal King that can negate a monster effect. So I get another monster negate on board. That's actually really crazy and a really nice sneaky play. The other newer card in here is Power of the Guardians, which actually plays Protect the King. So it protects your stronger monsters and your weaker monsters. Basically what happens is the monster equipped with this card, when it attacks or is attacked, this card gains a spell counter. When this card gains spell counters, for every spell counter on this card, the monster equipped with it gains 500 attack. Then on top of that, if the monster equipped with this card would be destroyed, you can remove 1 spell counter on your field. Doesn't have to be from this card. It can be from your monster. It can be from Citadel, and it can essentially allow you to remove that spell counter instead of that monster being destroyed. I guess I'll go over the older cards too. So older cards, Spell Power Grasp. Basically, you add a spell counter to a monster that can, or to a card that can hold a spell counter. Then you search for a Spell Power Grasp if you want to. Magical Citadel of Endymion basically gains spell counters just like any other spell counter card, which is every time a spell card is played, this card gains a spell counter. But on top of that, anytime a monster is destroyed that's holding spell counters, all those spell counters go to this card. This card can also protect itself from being destroyed by removing a spell counter from it itself. The other newer card that I didn't explain is Pendulum Paradox, and basically, if a card, you could gain 2 cards with the same name or the same scale but different names to your hand that are face up on your extra deck back to your hand, and that's actually a really dope effect because most of your scales in this deck are scale 4. If you guys don't know what Spiral Flame Strike does, it basically just gets a level 7 Odd Eyes monster from your deck to your hand. Also, when an Odd Eyes monster is out on the field, Odd Eyes Spiral Flame Strike can actually pop a card on the field. So that's dope too. I feel like everybody knows what Duelist Alliance does because Pendulum Magicians play it. So I'm not even going to go into that or get into that too much. Next, I'll move on to the 2 traps that I play, which aren't really that significant. So I'll just keep the same video. But Mythical Beast Bestiamorph and Pendulum Switch. So basically, Pendulum Switch is another target for your Duelist Alliance. I only run one of it. It's really good in the Mythical Beast deck because of the fact that it takes scales and puts them as monsters, so your Mythical Beast effects can actually go off and have a chance to go off. Bestiamorph, really slow. That's why people don't play it at all. It's really slow because it relies on your opponent's card effects, because every time your opponent's monster activates an effect, this card gains a spell counter. The thing about it is, though, if you're playing cards that put counters on this, you can actually speed this card up immensely, especially since you can speed it up with Bestiary, because Bestiary is a quick play spell, so you can set it as like a trap and then activate it to put 2 more counters on here, and then this card can just go off and activate during your opponent's turn. Mainly, this card can actually search any, and I do mean any, spell card, as long as it has the 6 spell counters on it. You have the 6 spell counters, and then you tribute this card and remove the 6 spell counters that's on this card, and you can search any spell card, which is really essential to searching this or one of your Power of the Guardians. Also, if you choose to tweak this deck a little bit, you could even not search this. This could be a Raigeki, and you could search the Raigeki. It could be the Monster Reborn, and you search the Monster Reborn. It's just a really crazy card in my opinion, and that's why I play it. So that's your main deck. It's actually 46 cards. Moving on to your extra deck. Okay, your extra deck's pretty simple. Starting with your Link monsters, I play one Decode Talker and one Link Karibo. I feel like I don't have to explain these too much. Link Karibo is just really good for stopping an attack from your opponent, because if you reduce their attack to zero, why would they want to attack your monster? And Decode Talker is really good for a negate. Next, for your one Xyz monster that I run is the Hope Harbinger Dragon. It's makeable off of 2 Master Cerberus, 1 Master Cerberus, and a Dissolver, 1 Master Cerberus, and a what is that card called? Lancer Dragon, 1 Lancer Dragon and Dissolver, 1 Lancer Dragon and 1 Lancer Dragon and Dissolver. So it's basically makeable in a couple different ways, and basically it just stops a spell, which is really good. Because you still gain the spell counter off of it because your opponent activated the spell, but it also makes it so your opponent has to attack this card. What you do is you just pitch one of the Odd Eyes monsters off of here, or you pitch a Master Cerberus off of here, and you just essentially go, okay, I pitched it to the grave. You have to attack this card instead of attacking an essential piece to my actual plays. So Hope Harbinger Dragon. Next, for synchros, I play Tempest Magician, Explosive Magician, Arcanite Magician, Psyframe Lord Omega, and SKD Clearwing. Those are all my synchros, but I feel like the only synchros I really have to explain is Tempest Magician and Explosive Magician. So the reason why I play Tempest Magician is because Tempest Magician is another win condition in the deck. Basically, if you have a minimum of 16 spell counters, this card wins the duel, period. Because it has the effect of when this card activates its effect, it can actually remove all spell counters on the field, and then your opponent takes damage equal to 500 for every spell counter that was removed from the field. Also, this card has the ability to generate spell counters by discarding cards from your hand, so that's actually really good too. It just makes a really good generator of spell counters and a really good burn card. Generating spell counters also in turn helps Explosive Magician, because Explosive Magician has the ability to pop a spell trap on the field using by removing 2 spell counters. This is really good when anti-spell fragrance is on the field, or cards like Unending Nightmare, Mistake, Imperial Order. That one card that I think it's Monarchs. I forget, Monarchs Erupt, I think is the skill drain of the True Draco deck right now, and then regular skill drain like this. Well, regular skill drain ain't going to help you, but this card isn't going to help you. But getting rid of the cards that affect the deck negatively is actually very important. So Explosive Magician, that's why it's at 1. Arcanite Magician can do the same thing just by removing cards from your spell counters from the field or from itself. It's really actually easy to create, seeing since Odd Eyes Synchron can turn all your Odd Eyes monsters into level 1 tuners. Next is your fusions. I play 1 SKD Starving Venom, really good for stealing the effects of Electromite or any other card that I deem is worthy of me stealing its effects. And Vortex Dragon. Vortex Dragon's really good because Vortex Dragon can actually negate any effect. And then because this card has a way of like stacking your extra deck with so many pendulum monsters, you'll have like a whole bunch of ways to negate in this deck almost pretty much non-stop. So that's the amount of cards I use. Note that it's only 10, and that's because I left 5 spaces out. because I'm really playing around with the extra deck. Essentially, it's up to you guys to figure out the other 5 cards that work really well, because I can't. So if anybody has any extra suggestions on how to do that, that'd be cool. I'd love feedback on the deck, how to change it, how to make it better. I'd also like it if you guys let me know if you guys want to see combos from this particular build, because there is actually really good board building combos in this particular build. So other than that, it's been a blast giving you guys this deck profile for Mythical Beasts, Odd Eyes, and without further ado, it's the Nivius Arts signing out. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and don't forget to leave comments on how to improve this deck, because I really want to be able to play this deck to the best of its abilities. So Nivius Art, like I said, signing out.